Am I the butthole for getting a girl at work fired for having an OnlyFans account? I, 30 female, work as a financial advisor at a rather large and well-known firm, along with my coworker T, mid-20s, female. One lunchtime T was having a discussion with us about how she had started in OnlyFans and was already getting subscribers. She said they should forget about slaving away at a desk for a company and take their future into their own hands, etc. T then told me I should try it. I brushed this off, and said it's just not something I'd like to do. She asked me why, and I shrugged and said just because. It's like asking me if I'd like to become an actress or a doctor, neither appeal to me. However, T didn't see it that way, and said, "What, do you think you're better than me?" I said no, of course not, I just wouldn't consider doing sex work as a career. T took great offense, saying that if I'm happy earning peanuts working my life away for a boss just for dignity, then that's on me, and I mustn't judge her for wanting to make a better future for herself, that she's not ashamed of what she is doing. She also said when your children ask you why they were poor their whole lives, you can tell them it's because you had too much dignity to provide for them more. I have 2 children, and I am fully able to provide for them. This pissed me off. She got up and went back to her desk. At this point, one of my other colleagues, in a much higher, managerial position, had overheard her and asked me what had happened, so I told her. After all, T's words were she wasn't ashamed of what she was doing, she seemed very open about it. My colleague said nothing and we went back to work. I thought nothing more of it, though I was irritated by T's comments about my children and financial status. I put most of my earnings into my home, family and investment. I drive a pretty standard-looking vehicle and my dress sense is rather plain, I guess. About a week later I noticed T was no longer coming into work. One of the girls she hung out with a lot at lunchtime was shooting me angry looks and speaking in hushed tones to their usual group. When I sat down, the girl turned to me and said, "Are you pleased with yourself?" I asked why and she said, "We all know you told the boss about T's OnlyFans account to get her fired." I was taken aback, then remembered mentioning it to my colleague that day. I went to her office to ask what had happened. She told me that she had decided to investigate T's social media, which listed our company as her workplace on her profile. Her IG was full of risque photos to push her OnlyFans. As her IG and FB profiles were easily connected, my colleague said it was openly moonlighting in a way that did not reflect well on the company, and reported it. T was called into a meeting, which ended in her being dismissed. I now feel responsible for T losing her job. Her friends have branded me a butthole, telling everyone I'm a jealous bitch, a slut-shamer, etc. My colleague told me T had it coming and I must not feel bad. Reddit, am I the butthole? NTA, I am pro-sex worker, but young people especially need to a. Understand how their social media presence represents their company, therefore what implications that can have, and b. She shouldn't be taking about her OnlyFans at work, it's unprofessional and not appropriate conversation. She was extra rude to you, the conversation was overheard, it's her own problem. I would be reporting the other girls for bullying too. This isn't high school, it's a professional place of employment, grow up or get out. I worked for a tech company that employed a somewhat popular streamer. One time while streaming, this person got a donation that praised the streamer for helping the donator through a suicidal rough patch. Said streamer went on this horrible rant in return. It went viral, fairly quickly. Streamer displayed tech company affiliation all over their social media bios, so it quickly got back to the tech company. It was the final straw in a bunch of recent incidents, and the employee was voluntold to resign. Streamer could literally not grasp the concept that their actions reflected poorly on the company. I specifically remember the phrase, "My thoughts don't represent the company, why can't company understand that?" Why would you go on a horrible rant when someone thanks you for getting them through a rough patch? What am I missing? If I remember correctly, Brandon's excuse for the rant was that he had a close friend actually commit suicide, so he was yelling at the kid for attention seeking. Ah yes, attention seeking, the weakest accusation one can possibly make. Unlike streamers, who value their anonymity, apparently. It's not an uncommon attitude, unfortunately. It's also incredibly stupid, as it implies that only dead suicide victims deserve sympathy. Too bad they have no use for it. Living people on the other hand can go F themselves, I guess. In my first year of my psych degree, they talked about this in relation to suicide. Some people say suicidal individuals are seeking attention. Of course they are. They need help. So why not give them the attention they need? I'm sure it's happened, but I've never met someone who pretended to be suicidal who didn't have some underlying mental health issues that they need help with. On OnlyFans. It might be the weakest, but it hurts a whole hell of a lot to hear it if you're on the edge. Especially if it's from someone you care about. Thank you for helping me through this hard time. Stop seeking attention. Blowing up and ranting at him gave him a lot more attention than glad I could help and moving on. So the streamer yelled at someone else for attention seeking. Irony truly is dead. A. Morissette. Ah, yes, the professional social media personality accusing others of attention seeking. LOL. Of course it was DM Brandon. Trashy dude. Damn. I would think someone would do the opposite of ranting if someone reached out with suicidal thoughts. So he had someone he knew who actually completed suicide, and his response to someone praising him for helping them through a suicidal rough patch was to yell at them for it? This is just unbelievable and is exactly why a lot of people do not reach out for help with their suicidal ideation, for fear of being labeled an attention seeker. Then you'll often see and hear comments whenever someone has committed suicide and they're all, "Why didn't he reach out for help? Why didn't they tell me / anyone?" These comments can often be from the same people who will yell at someone for seeking attention, not all of course. Some people are so cynical. Listen. If someone is so desperate for attention that they are willing to harm themselves, then there is something mentally wrong anyway, and what does it matter if it's attention seeking at that point? Maybe they're in desperate need of attention? Sorry. This rant isn't aimed at you. This kind of thing just grinds my gears in general. Excerpt from the rant: there are a lot of streamers out there that would appreciate that message. I'm just going to call you a butthole. It's a selfish, stupid thing to do, Nance stated. If you don't like my opinion about that, you can find someone else to watch who's going to tell you killing yourself is okay. Go F yourself, kid. Everyone has F-ing depression and anxiousness. Everyone has a hard time F-ing waking up, and still a lot of us do it without putting the burden on a lot of other people. Everyone has depression. Dude might want to talk to a doctor. Because no, not everyone has depression, or has a hard time getting out of bed, or has suicidal ideation. And those symptoms can be managed with medication and therapy. Everyone has a hard time F-ing waking up, and still a lot of us do it without putting the burden on a lot of other people. Only a narcissist would view vulnerability as a burden. He's resentful because he's not capable of gratitude or vulnerability, so he goes to the only emotion he is capable of, anger. Narcissism? Shrug. I don't know, but it was brutal and very uncalled for. Seems like he was projecting his own negative feelings toward himself, as well as dealing with unresolved issues that stem from his sister's heroin addiction. Edit, a word. Have you watched the rant? The dude is a straight-up butthole. My thoughts don't represent the company. Why can't company understand that if you're not representing us, then why would we continue paying you? I think you could potentially argue that my company isn't paying me to represent them off the clock when I'm not doing my job. Asking me to continue to represent the company and their best interests versus my own on my own time seems a bit of an overreach. I get it at the end of the day, I just don't think that clapback really holds any value. While true, if you plaster your affiliation with them all over your social media life, you are representing them regardless of them paying you for it, but yeah. I concur with your logic. This reminds me of a guy I know getting pissed some sportscaster got fired for a really racist tweet. He came to me expecting me to be up in arms about it too. He said I was a hypocrite for not being mad since we have the First Amendment to free speech. I had to explain to him that yes, you have the right to say anything you want and not get persecuted by the government, but that doesn't excuse you from consequences. Dude was the face of a network. He doesn't get to say whatever he wants on a public Twitter account and expect the company everyone associates him with to be fine with it. Every job I've had has a form you have to sign about social media responsibility. If you have the company name anywhere on your profile, you are considered a company ambassador. Your public conduct needs to reflect that or it's grounds for termination. In regard to if this woman would have had an OnlyFans completely separate from FB Inc. and didn't mention the company at all in anything connected to OnlyFans, I might feel differently. But still, anything you do in a public forum can absolutely impact your ability to work in any given field. It's why I always tell my teenage daughter to think before she posts. Would you want a future employer to see this? Then don't post it publicly. I agree with that for sure. No need to be promoting your company on social anyway. There was an r/legal advice post a couple years ago from a woman who had an employee who made her own amateur porn, and at least one of the videos was shot after hours in their workplace. I'm all for sex work and positivity, but there's a time and a place for it, and it's not at your full-time job. Reddit link. Good old DM Brandon? Man is an ass, to put it lightly. I'm slightly confused. What was he ranting about that was so controversial? YouTube link. Almost saved it at the end there with his "you got through this because you're stronger than you think, no one else did it for you" thing. Too bad every word before that was awful. What a grade A butthole. What the cinnamon toast F? Everyone has depression, so stop whining? Don't talk about your problems, but shame on you for not getting help? What the F? I hope he gets fired from jobs he doesn't even have yet. Depressed people are lazy, suicide is weak, etc., etc. It's almost as if, when someone's brain is malfunctioning to the point of overriding its one and only primary function from day one, which is to not die, they're not purposely choosing suicide. That guy is an ass. Well, if you slap a bunch of company logos on everything and then you're a huge public jerk, the company isn't going to be super thrilled with that. Most companies literally tell you that as part of orientation. I don't know why that's so hard for people to remember. I worked somewhere one time that gave out a bunch of random stuff with company logos on it, and I could just picture someone having like a company backpack or something on and freaking out in public and having a viral video like, company name, employee goes on viral rant at McDonald's or something. I think I saw this. Wondering if this is still available online. I'm certain it is, another user replied with the streamer in question. A quick search with that name should net you what you are looking for. I understand your point, however, I believe that people shouldn't have to hold to a professional standard outside of working hours. We aren't born to be professional 24/7. What I post on my social media does not affect how well I do my job. Just like the color of my hair or whether I wear nail polish, etc. while at work, 100%, act professional and represent whatever company/employer you work for to the best of your ability. However, once clocked out, there isn't a need to be professional because you're being you and shouldn't have to censor yourself for the company you work for. Obviously, this doesn't count racist, homophobic, transphobic, misogynistic behavior, etc. She shouldn't have been talking about it at work, I agree, and the way she commented on the family and future was totally out of hand, but her personal life outside work should have no impact on her working life. Edit. I'm all for keeping personal and professional life separate. Don't link where you work, etc., but if somehow they overlap, it shouldn't be an issue unless it's regarding things such as stated above. I agree. Though I do think T did two things wrong that keep this argument from applying to them specifically. They talked about their sex work in the office, and pretty openly too. Not only that, but they insulted the place they work and the people who work there, also while in the office. They linked their social media to the company name. Had neither of those things happened, had say, eavesdropped on a quiet and private conversation and found out that way and then reported it, that would be a different situation. You didn't eat them out, she was overheard, and she was bound to be overheard and investigated eventually. It was the person above you who reported. NTA. She also tried to recruit coworkers for sex work, which could easily be received as sexual harassment. Verbally abused the original post when she declined. Which is harassment. They should have fired her for inappropriate behavior at work, and original post should report the bully who's giving her a hard time now. I don't know why more people aren't saying this. I can get fired for talking about my dates at the office if it is too risque and may make someone uncomfortable. This is easily sexual harassment territory before you get in any sort of discussion about what people can and can't do on their own time. A guy literally got fired back when I was 18 for mentioning my virginity when I was new. This dude was in his 40s and he even offered to take it. My coworkers overheard, and it didn't take long for the owner to find out because he was on site. Exactly. She could have blissfully made that suite of money for the rest of her effing life with zero problems at the office if she just wasn't an idiot about it. It's one thing not to be ashamed of what you do, that's cool. It's another thing to pretend like old stiffs in upper management are going to magically be cool with it. They didn't grow up with online sex work, they have a lifetime of sexual repression and vilifying sex workers coursing through their veins. It's common sense to assume they're going to have a negative reaction whether you're proud of what you're doing or not. If you want to choose that hill to die on, then be my guest, but get that surprised Pikachu look off your face. This was 100% predictable and easily avoidable. What a dummy, and a bully. Sex positivity and sex work positivity weren't invented 5 years ago. This happened to T because she has a big mouth and no boundaries, not because everyone over 30 is automatically a repressed prude. This has nothing to do with age and everything to do with her being a jerk. I feel this. Like, as an asexual person, having an interaction like this would have literally hell for me. Like, I don't care what you do, but don't force your sexuality onto me. I'm cracking up at, you didn't eat them out. What a great typo for this post. Laughing out loud. NTA, she got herself fired, plain and simple. Linking her social media accounts to the company also means she would have been found out sooner or later anyway. Such a colossally stupid thing to do. I don't see a person with such poor judgment and that little common sense advancing very far in their career. Well, luckily it seems like she has a backup that pays much better. Haha. I do not believe for a second that that woman is going to make more money in the long term or even in the medium term on OnlyFans than as a financial advisor. I've got zero issue with sex work, but to say it's a precarious career for the vast majority who go into it is a massive understatement. Where her social media is pushing her OnlyFans account. I think she should realize that's why porn stars have fake names, and also why you should have separate social media if you're trying to build a brand. I'm all about sex positivity and pro-sex work. But workplaces are still professional organizations, no matter where you work. And discussing sexual activities at work, regardless of what it is, usually doesn't fly. End of story. Maybe someday it will be different, but I sure as hell wouldn't talk to my coworkers about my sex life at all. Every single place I have worked at has had a social media policy. Current workplace says that under no circumstances can I list my workplace on my socials, and I would absolutely be fired for breaking that. NTA. Thank you for watching. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube. And share them with your friends. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. We welcome your comments below. Another of our videos will begin shortly.